you're thinking about making a move to Raleigh and you want to get a good deal, stick around. We're gonna hit 4 places you need to keep your eye on.
These 4 areas have quite a bit in common as far as why you can get a good deal in them. So most of them are what I would consider to be more on like the outskirts of town, with the exception of one, which we'll dig into later. There's somewhat of a lacking of infrastructure in some of these areas just because they're a little bit further out. And there's also, when it comes to things like amenities, whether it's, retail space or parks, they're just not gonna have what you find in a place like a Cary or a North Raleigh or something along those lines. And so that is the reason why, in general, you see buyers get better deals in these areas. But the first one we're gonna talk about is Wendell. So in general, in Wendell, buyers are getting homes for a little bit more than 3% off of list price, which is substantial because this data is coming from April. We're filming this in May, but the data is coming from April because real estate data lags a month. But when you think about the month of April, that's one of the hotter months in the real estate market. And so for buyers to be able to get homes for about 3% off of list price is pretty stinking good for the month of April.
Yeah, for sure. And just in general around the triangle, we have seen things like take a slowdown in May. So I would imagine like by the time you're watching this, if you're thinking, I'm gonna move in June or July or August, it could be even more of a deal by that point, because I think the market will kind of continue to stagger as people get back into school and everything.
But the town of Wendell is on the eastern side of Raleigh. Just to dig in a little bit about Wendell, it is a little bit further out, but it's not too far out from places like North Hill. So it does have good accessibility, but it's just far enough out that it is gonna have a little bit of, I guess, more pressure on the home prices than some of the other more central areas go. There's a lot of new construction in Wendell as well, with large neighborhoods like Wendell Falls. But Wendell Falls is not the only new construction in town anymore. There's a lot of other options out there. But in general, buyers in Wendell can get pretty good deals right now.
Yeah, for sure. And Wendell is a great area. Like Zach mentioned, Wendell Falls isn't the only new construction, but there is a lot of options in the Wendell Falls area, which, unlike what we just mentioned, does have a ton of access to commercial space that is growing and growing. I think the rumor is there is a Chick-fil-A coming into Wendell Falls.
It's not a rumor.
Yeah, I think it's confirmed. They've got a lot of grocery and stuff there. So if you are someone who's like, I want to have all the conveniences of living in the city, but I don't want to like live in downtown Raleigh, or I want a better deal, living in Wendell Falls, like you have all of that commercial space. There are schools, the parks for the neighborhood, the pool, all right in that little bubble. Like I feel like if you worked from home and you didn't want to have to commute that much, like you can be living the good life in Wendell Falls without really ever having to leave that area.
Yeah.
So the next one on our list is Fuquay. Fuquay and Wendell were just about the same. People are getting homes a little over 3% under the list price there. And shockingly, in Fuquay, the inventory is up about 55% from the same time last year. So that's a lot more options and a lot more homes obviously sitting for a little bit longer. So it's a really interesting sign of, how good of a deal you can get, because there's a lot of competition out there.
Yeah, and Fuquay, similar to Wendell, except Fuquay is on the southern side of Raleigh. So it's on kind of the far south. It's it's south of Holly Springs. And so one aspect about Fuquay where, you have some of that pressure on home prices is because parts of Fuquay are going to be a little more remote than other parts. So Fuquay is split between 2 different counties. You have the northern part of Fuquay, which is more convenient to a lot of your amenities. It's going to be on the Wake County side. So that's the part of Fuquay that's closer to Holly Springs. The southern part of Fuquay in Harnett County, that's where the bulk of your new construction goes. So if you ever see a lot of new construction going on in Fuquay, which there is, most of that's on the Harnett County side. And so that's the side that's gonna pull you a little bit further from the conveniences or the amenities that you're gonna experience on that northern side of Fuquay. I think in general, that's one of the reasons you're gonna see some of that pressure on home prices there.
Yeah, for sure. And something to keep in mind when moving to Fuquay, those Harnett County homes are not going to be in the same school system as the Wake County homes, because they're going to be 2 separate school districts. So that's something to make sure you're keeping in mind when thinking about a move to Fuquay.
Yeah, for sure. All right, next on the list is Clayton. So in Clayton, buyers are getting homes for just around 2.5%. I say just around 2.5%. It's exactly 2.5% off of list price. So not quite what we're seeing in Wendell or Fuquay, but still a really good market for buyers to find a home in.
Yeah, for sure. And Clayton, like the others, you're going to be a little bit more off the beaten path. You're going to pass through Raleigh and continue going east to get there. But Clayton has really built up a lot in the last 5 years. I mean, they don't have as much access to commercial space as you might have like in Raleigh, obviously, but there is a growing amount of things going into that area, and the park system is growing too. They've added a lot of great playgrounds to that area and just in really like the last 3 years. So I feel like it is a good place to be and watch things kind of continue up and come and everything, but it is important to note there is not a Target in Clayton.
It's true. Or is there a Chick-fil-A?
No.
There's no Chick-fil-A.
It's a sad thing.
Yeah. 2 strikes for Cindy.
Yeah. You're out, Clayton. All right, our last place to get a deal is actually going to be surprising to you guys, and it's Raleigh. Raleigh, on average, recently has been getting a little under 2% of list, 2% of off of the price. I know this is kind of confusing. Of the price off, so people are saving about 2.5% off of the original list price here in Raleigh, and inventory is up about 55% from this time last year. So there are a lot of options. We've got people that have been relocating this area, coming into town and seeing things that may have been on the market for a couple weeks and still don't have an offer on them, and they're still awesome options. Whereas, you know, a couple years ago, if it had been sitting on the market for a while, you knew like, no, there might be something wrong with it, but that's definitely not the case now in Raleigh.
Yeah, and there is a catch to Raleigh, and this is what I kind of mentioned at the earlier part of the video. So if you look at Raleigh and kind of break it down by zip code, so where are the most competitive parts of Raleigh and where's the least competitive parts of Raleigh? So in general, when you break Raleigh down that way, North Raleigh holds its own very well. We actually did a video not too long ago about a zip code in North Raleigh being one of the most competitive zip codes in the region. That is true. So this is really, the area is really pulled down, so to speak, by South Raleigh. So you have places like zip codes like 27610, which is Southeast Raleigh, that in general, you can get a very good deal on that side of town. And so that is the reason that Raleigh is one of the less competitive sides, is because of what you're seeing on that southern side. And so with that knowledge, it is pretty similar when you're comparing like the southern portion of Raleigh to some of these more outskirt towns, because in general, it's just a less developed part of Raleigh compared to North Raleigh. It has really great infrastructure, great neighborhoods, tons of amenities, commercial space, parks, things like that. And so there is a difference. Yeah,
for sure. You are going to feel like South Raleigh has more of a rural feel to it and less access to that commercial space.
Yeah, for sure. We are Zach and Cindy Honeycutt, a couple of real estate agents in the area. So if you are looking to buy or sell, we'd love to be your real estate resource of choice. You can find our contact info below, and you can also find us on Instagram.
Yep, we'd love to have you follow along on Instagram. You can find us at the Honeycutt Realtors, and you can feel free to message us there too.
Yep, and the RDU Buzz.
Yeah, and you can follow us at the RDU Buzz for restaurants, playgrounds, developments, things going on around Raleigh and Durham.
Awesome. We'll see y'all next time.